What's going on, guys? Balkan Architect here, and in this video I'm going to be talking about Revit for students versus Revit for architects. Now, before you get confused, I'm not talking about two different softwares. This is one software, one Revit, but architecture students and our architects, the practicing architects, use it in kind of a different way. Well, at least in most cases. So when you're in school, you're usually doing some conceptual designs, you're doing some wild designs, and for this, using just in-place masses and massing in Revit is usually your best friend. You're usually trying to create some wild shape, and then you're using in-place masses or just conceptual masses to create those wild shapes, and then you're using that for projects. And when you go and work in real life as an architect, and if you're using Revit, you're going to soon find out that massing isn't really something that you're going to be using all that often, maybe not at all. Because in real life, for architecture details and being able to use all of the dimensions of Revit, all of the options that Revit gives you, not only the ability to create some wild buildings, but actually the ability to calculate all of the materials used, the cost of the materials, do some structural analysis, being able to do correct graphics and annotation really quickly, and being able to place that on sheets. That's what's important in real life. Compared to student version of Revit or student way of approaching Revit, where the only important thing is to create some wild shapes, and then you can export them to Photoshop, kind of work a bit on them, and then you're finally done. Also, graphics are a lot different when you're working in Revit as an architecture student, and if you're working in Revit as a practicing architect. For example, first time when I was working for a company as a Revit, as an architect, or just a part-time job, I was given some small building that I had to design myself, and I did it, and I exported all of the work, and I was very proud of myself because this was the first project where I had all of the technical sections and elevations and everything, and it all looked very complete. And then I gave it to and I was the only person working in Revit in that company at the time, so I gave that project to my superior, and they went like, "Oh, why did you spend so much time doing the shadows on these sections? Don't you know that sections don't need shadows?" And it was funny for me because they obviously didn't know that it's just one click and you remove all of the shadows. They thought I manually placed all of the shadows, but that's some of the things that all of the stuff that you do in school just to make it look nice. In real life, that usually isn't like that. The technical drawings that are going to be for a buildings that are going to be built are usually stay that way. They stay very simple, so a construction worker can go through the drawings and just figure out how he should build the building. So that's the point of all of those technical drawings. Also, something that you're really not using in school is some of the more sophisticated Revit options like phasing, because you don't really have any phases in school projects, but in real life usually you're going to have a bunch of phases. So if you're in school, I suggest you continue using Revit the way you use it, but also try to figure out some of the things that you're going to need to be using once you finally get that first job in architecture. One of those things is, as I said, phasing. Then you have to do design options. Again, in school you don't really use the design options, you just kind of go ahead and make different buildings, but when you're working in real projects, you would like to use some design options. You need to really figure out how to use tables and how to export everything into tables. That's a very important part of working as a Revit architect. You need to know how to do cost calculations and how to set up all of the materials. Usually when you're doing a student project, you don't really have layers in all of your walls and your roofs. It's usually just one material that looks nice in the sections, and that's it. But in real life you have to set that up. You need to have all of the correct layers, you need to do all of the detailing, you need to kind of create and export perfect details, so it's not just a simple kind of shapes thrown together. It has to actually be a very detailed design. You also need to set up all of your models so you can do correct analysis, some thermal efficiency analysis, some lighting analysis, stuff like that. So it really needs to be set up perfectly so you can run all of those analyses without any problems. Also, something that you're going to be noticing is that families that you used in school and families that you use in real life for Revit are quite different. Usually when you're in school, you're just trying to find families that are going to be looking good on your 3D models. So you're looking for something that's aesthetically pleasing. But in real life, when you start working and you need maybe to do a toilet and maybe a sink, stuff like that, you're not really just going to be Googling like Revit toilet family. You're going to be Googling manufacturers and then contacting those manufacturers and asking for correct models, because they can send you actually correct models that have both the weight, the kind of the needs. If it's an electrical element, then it has all of the current stuff for electrical analysis. If it's something for plumbing, it has all of the values that are necessary for plumbing. So it has those families have all of the parameters that you don't really need when you're working just in architecture. And you're going to be noticing that families that are kind of real-life families that have all of those parameters usually don't really look as good as ones that are used for your projects. That the aesthetics are not that important. It's important that they work well and that they give you right project documentation afterwards when you run all of the tests and analysis and export all of the sheets and do all of the cost analysis and everything like that. So, and I'm going to be linking up in the description of this video some of the videos or tutorials, or Revit tutorials, where I talk about some of these options in Revit that are more commonly used in real life and in practice, that architecture students just don't really find the need to use them before they finish architecture school. Okay, so that's it for this video. I thought this would be an interesting topic. Tell me in the comment section below, have you enjoyed it, and have you got any more tips for architecture students that want to have an easier transition into kind of working as real architects. And of course, as always, please like this video, share it with your friends, subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you in another video tomorrow.